Welcome to Earth and Conquest. My name is Mike. In this episode of Nemesis Battle, a champion fighter and an evoker wizard face each other for a rematch. This rematch is more than just a straightforward duel. Rather, it involves a competitive fetch quest to obtain a magical treasure from a nest guarded by flying monsters. The two characters have advanced up to level 9 using the rules in the 2024 Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons. Among the flying monsters, 2 chimeras are challenge rating 6 creatures, and 10 griffons are challenge rating 2 creatures, as presented in the 2025 Monster Manual. As with all of the episodes of Nemesis Battles, I will clarify what happens in the game mechanics and the story narrative while demonstrating in the 3D world builder and virtual tabletop system of RPG stories. For extra details about the characters, in the video text description, you can find the web links for the character sheets in D&D Beyond. You will notice that these two characters are not optimized for most combat situations. You easily could create more effective characters. The human champion fighter is named Percy Jones. He combines the extended critical hit range of a champion fighter with the trident as his signature weapon, along with a topple weapon mastery, piercer feat, charger feat, and shield master feat. The cloud giant Goliath evoker wizard is named Evoker. Due to her aggressive personality and her preference for damage-dealing spells, Evoker can bring devastating power into a combat situation, certainly in terms of damage output, but not necessarily in terms of utility and control. Leading up to this point, Percy Jones and Evoker worked together as a team for a while, but they argued often. Their personalities clashed. They decided to end their partnership and to go in their separate ways. The champion fighter, Percy Jones, remembered his childhood ambitions of following in the footsteps of legendary adventurers who could defeat ferocious monsters, claim their treasure hoards, and gain everlasting fame and fortune. Percy Jones travels through the realms searching for an adventure. He learns a rumor about a magical gem that can summon powerful creatures. After some time, he finds the place where this gem is situated at a hilltop, guarded by ferocious monstrosities. During this time, the evoker wizard Evoker reconnected with her lifelong ambition to occupy a magical lair, where she could create her own signature magical spells named after herself and forever become remembered by every other wizard into the future. Evoker learned about a magical place that could be ideal for her purposes, but then she found that someone else already occupied this lair. The new proprietor appears to be away from the lair at the moment. The wizard considers how to seize this magical lair by force. She can ascertain that the stonework walls and the magical protections are too strong for her to breach on her own. Evoker remembers a rumor about a magical gem that can summon earth elementals, and this possibility could be perfect for invading into this magical lair. Earth elementals can burrow beneath the ground, and they can cause tremendous damage to structures. The rumored legendary version of the elemental gem can summon several of these creatures for up to 1 hour, granting enough time to assault the magical lair. This particular legendary gem is rumored to be protected in the nest of hostile flying monstrosities known as chimeras and griffons, living atop an isolated hill a few days of travel away from here. With their converging paths, the two adventurers meet once again. They choose their words carefully, aiming to avoid their old habits of offending each other. They discuss about how perhaps their goals could align. Maybe they can work together once more toward obtaining the legendary treasure of the Earth Elemental Gem. Soon enough, the conversation grows tense and confrontational. The champion fighter declares that his fighting skills will be essential for any battle, and that the wizard is too weak to survive without him. The evoker wizard asserts that any hope of success will require her mastermind skills and powerful spellcasting. The argument escalates while 4 of the griffons fly out to confront the two adventurers. The other griffons and the 2 chimeras stay back to defend the nest. Percy Jones and Evoker can agree about only one point, namely that they will compete against each other toward obtaining the gem from the nest. The 2 adventurers and the 4 nearest griffons roll for initiative. The champion fighter rolls with advantage due to his remarkable athlete feature. He rolls 11. The evoker wizard rolls 13. The wizard's owl familiar rolls 3. The 4 nearest griffons roll 16, 11, 10, and another 16. Other flying creatures could join into the initiative order later. For now, though, they stay in defensive positions at the nest with the Earth Elemental Gem. 2 of the griffons will act first, followed by the evoker wizard, another griffon, then the champion fighter, 1 more griffon, and lastly the owl familiar. The fighter's warhorse and the wizard's phantom steed will act during their riders' turns, functioning as controlled mounts. The first griffon swoops down into the melee contact with the champion fighter. It makes 2 rend attacks. The first attack roll is 9, missing against the champion's armor class of 21. The second rend attack roll is a natural 20, scoring a critical hit, automatically hitting against any target and doubling the damage dice. The critical hit produces 14 piercing damage. Furthermore, with any hit, the griffon automatically grapples the target. The griffon flies upward at half of its speed while grappling its prey. Another griffon moves to make 2 rend attacks against the Evoker wizard. The first rend attack roll is 8, missing against the wizard armor class of 15, using her mage armor. The second rend attack roll is 15. Ordinarily, the attack would hit against the armor class of 15, but the Evoker wizard uses her reaction to cast the shield spell, boosting her armor class up to 20 until the start of her next turn. The griffon screeches at the wizard, holding his position in melee contact. The Evoker wizard, Evoker, considers among her many options of how to proceed in this situation. She wants to move away from the griffon without provoking an opportunity attack that could result in being grappled. In this case, as a bonus action, Evoker uses her Cloud's Jaunt, available to her as a Cloud Giant Goliath. This feature allows to teleport up to 30 feet without using a spell slot. Evoker teleports onto her Phantom Steed. She commands the Phantom Steed to use its 100 feet of movement to move into a new spot. In order to reach into this ideal positioning, the steed uses its dash action, but it does not need to use the full extent of the dash. The wizard observes the hilltop with the monster nest area, where she expects to find the earth elemental gem. In this position, the Evoker wizard uses her action to cast Fireball with a 3rd level spell slot. The blast is centered on the nest area. The fireball generates 34 points of fire damage. Only 1 chimera is within the blast of the fireball. It rolls a dexterity saving throw to attempt to avoid half of the damage. A roll of 8 fails. The griffon sustains the full amount of 34 fire damage. The dry grasses and leaves of the nest are flammable. The entire nest area erupts into an inferno. The same wounded chimera happens to be inside the area of the inferno and automatically suffers 19 fire damage. At this point, all of the creatures at the nest enter into the initiative. In the official game rules, they all should roll individually. For simplicity of this episode, though, I am treating all of them as if they would act on initiative count 10, meaning that they will act together after the champion fighter. 1 griffin already in the initiative count flies to attack the grappled champion fighter. It makes 2 rend attacks. The first attack roll is 18, missing against the champion's armor class of 21. The second rend attack roll is 13, missing the target again. The champion fighter, Percy Jones, begins his turn with 80 of his total 94 hit points. He is grappled by a griffon that is flying upwards. Another griffin is engaged in melee contact. Percy Jones attacks the griffon that is grappling him using his trident. The attack roll is 24, hitting against the armor class of 12. The trident causes 9 piercing damage. With the topple weapon mastery of the trident, the griffin rolls a constitution saving throw to avoid being toppled. A roll of 8 fails. The griffin is knocked prone. While flying without a hover feature, the griffin falls to the ground, bringing Percy Jones along for the fall. They tumble over each other and they both suffer half of 10 bludgeoning damage. They both are in the prone condition. I am interpreting that the grapple is broken. Percy Jones uses half of his movement to stand up from the prone condition. He makes his second attack with the trident, rolling with advantage against the prone griffin. The attack roll of 14 hits against the armor class of 12. The attack causes the minimum of 8 piercing damage. Instead of the usual topple weapon mastery of the trident, Percy Jones uses his tactical mastery feature instead to apply the slow weapon mastery. The prone griffin now is slow by 10 feet. It retains 37 of his total 59 hit points. The champion fighter, Percy Jones, uses his bonus action for his second wind. He regains 12 hit points. As part of the second wind, the tactical shift option allows to move up to half of the fighter's speed without provoking opportunity attacks. Percy Jones uses this movement and part of his regular movement to mount onto his warhorse. Percy Jones commands his warhorse to move toward the Evoker wizard, using the dash action of the warhorse, finding a position between the wizard and the hilltop nest. Now the 2 chimeras and 6 griffins near the monster nest are enraged about the fireball attack and the inferno in the nest. 1 chimera starts his turn inside the inferno, and it suffers another 25 fire damage. Furthermore, it was exposed to a burning hazard and it suffers another 3 points of fire damage at the start of its turn. The chimera moves away and uses its action to roll itself on the ground, dousing the fire, causing its burning. Otherwise, the burning would continue to cause fire damage at the start of each of the chimera's next turns. All of the other flying creatures here move toward the intruders. They all can identify the wizard as the person who cast the fireball, and instinctively they move to attack this threat as the most important. These creatures need to use their dash actions to reach into melee contact with the wizard. A few of them stop to engage with the champion fighter. Another griffon was in the initiative count earlier, and now it uses its dash action to join with the larger group. It moves into melee contact with the wizard. The wizard's owl familiar is the last in the initiative order. The owl is a tiny creature riding on the wizard's phantom steed. The wizard commands the owl to use its dash action to fly away to safety. They will meet again later. The owl uses its flyby feature to avoid opportunity attacks. At the end of round 1, the champion fighter and the evoker wizard both are a long way from reaching to the monster nest where they expect to find the earth elemental gem. They compete against each other to be the first to obtain this magical item. Several dangerous enemies stand between them and their objective. In round 2, the prone griffon uses half of its movement to upright itself. It was slowed by 10 feet. It can move only part of the way toward the combat using its dash action. Another griffon uses its movement and its dash action to join with the larger group. The evoker wizard, Evoker, starts her turn with all of her 57 regular hit points. So far she has been unharmed. She reveals a clever smirk while she prepares to cast a spell. As her action, the wizard casts Dimension Door, using a 4th level spell slot. The Dimension Door allows the spellcaster to teleport up to 500 feet along with one other willing creature. Evoker brings her phantom steed with her through the Dimension Door, teleporting all the way up to the hilltop and near the nest with the Inferno. Within the intense flames of the Inferno, Evoker can see the earth elemental gem that she is seeking. At this point, though, the wizard is not willing to rush into the Inferno to claim the magical gem. At least some of the flying monsters could move to attack her. In this case, Evoker commands her phantom steed to move into a safer position at the opposite side of the nest. The steed uses its dash action. The areas of steep hill slope, though, are difficult terrain, slowing the movement by half. One griffin in the initiative order flies over to the champion fighter using its dash action to reach into melee contact. The champion fighter, Percy Jones, starts his turn with 87 of his total 94 hit points. Percy Jones commands his warhorse to use its disengage action and then to move forward toward the objective at the hilltop nest. When the warhorse uses its disengage action, then both the mount and the rider avoid opportunity attacks. The warhorse is slowed while it moves through the difficult terrain of dense foliage, but it does manage to move into a new position. Percy Jones prepares a ready action. If an enemy will enter within range of his melee contact, then he will make one attack with his trident. The chimera near the hilltop nest releases a terrifying roar with its 3 animal heads, alerting its allies about a serious danger at the nest. The chimera flies toward where it last saw the evoker wizard. It uses its dash action to move into a position to intervene between the evoker and the nest. After hearing the chimera's 3-headed roar and seeing the inferno at the nest, most of the other flying creatures here use their dash actions to rush over to the scene of the emergency. They form a partial perimeter of defense around the nest. They cannot fly far enough with their dash actions to establish a complete perimeter. One chimera and one griffon move to attack the champion fighter. The fighter's ready action could be triggered at this time, but it would require his reaction. In this particular situation, Percy Jones prefers to keep his reaction for another possibility when facing the chimera that could produce a cone of fire breath. The multi-headed chimera uses its ram attack. An attack roll of 10 misses against the champion's armor class of 21. The chimera uses another head to make a bite attack. The roll of 22 hits against the armor class of 21. The bite causes 11 piercing damage. Instead of attacking with its claws, the chimera now releases its fire breath in a 15-foot cone. The fire breath generates 29 fire damage. Percy Jones rolls a dexterity saving throw to attempt to avoid the fire. A result of 8 should fail. With the indomitable feature, though, Percy Jones re-rolls the saving throw and adds a bonus of 9 equal to his fighter level. The re-roll is 15 for a success. Moreover, when succeeding on a dexterity saving throw that ordinarily would reduce the damage by half, as in this case, then the Shield Master feat allows Percy Jones to use his reaction to avoid all of the damage. Percy Jones is thankful that he withheld his reaction earlier. I nearly forgot about the warhorse to roll its dexterity saving throw. A roll of 18 succeeds! With half of the fire damage, the warhorse survives, retaining only 5 of his total 19 hit points. One griffin here attacks the champion fighter, making 2 rend attacks. The first attack roll is 22, hitting against the armor class of 21. The rend causes 9 piercing damage, and the fighter automatically is grappled. The second rend attack roll is 16, missing the target. With its small amount of movement still remaining, the griffin flies upward at half speed while carrying the grappled target. The wizard's owl familiar stays in its position. By default, the owl uses the dodge action until it will receive another command. At the end of round 2, the Evoker Wizard is close to achieve her goal at obtaining the Earth Elemental Gem inside the hilltop nest, while the Champion Fighter continues to be slowed down by the multiple enemies in the battlefield. The 2 chimeras and the 10 griffons are intent on defending the nest. The nest currently is engulfed in an inferno. In round 3, 2 of the griffons in the original initiative order fly in search of the Evoker Wizard. They use their dash actions to move closer to the wizard. The available movement is not enough to enter into melee contact. The Evoker Wizard, Evoker, channels her magical energy to cast Sleet Storm with a 3rd level spell slot. With her concentration up to the next 1 minute, the wizard creates a column of sleet in a radius of 20 feet. No creatures are within the Sleet Storm at this time. If a creature will enter into here, then I will clarify the details about what will happen with the Sleet Storm. The immediate part that the wizard intends right now is for the Sleet Storm to douse any of the open flames, resulting in the dousing of the Inferno. The wizard maintains her concentration on the Sleet Storm, primarily for discouraging anyone else from entering into here. The area is heavily obscured, and it contains difficult terrain. Other effects could apply if a creature will enter into here or start its turn inside the Sleet Storm. Evoker commands her Phantom Steed to move far enough into a different location where the flying creatures will not be able to reach within attack range unless they use their dash actions. 1 griffin in the original initiative order moves and uses its dash action to fly over to the wizard. It manages to enter into melee contact, but it needs to use its dash action to do so. The Champion Fighter, Percy Jones, starts his turn with 67 of his total 94 hit points. Once again, he is grappled by a flying griffin. He cannot see the Evoker Wizard at this time, but he can understand that the wizard cast the Sleet Storm spell at the hilltop nest. Percy Jones uses his trident to attack the griffin that is grappling him. The attack roll is 25, hitting against the armor class of 12. The trident inflicts 13 piercing damage. With the topple weapon mastery of the trident, the griffin rolls a constitution saving throw to avoid being knocked prone. A roll of 16 fails. The griffin falls down to the ground, bringing the fighter along for the fall. They tumble over each other, and I interpret that the grapple is broken. They both suffer half of 1 bludgeoning damage for the minimum of 1 each, and they both are in the prone condition. Percy Jones uses half of his movement to stand up from the prone condition. As a bonus action, he uses his second wind. He regains 19 hit points. With the tactical shift option of the second wind, Percy Jones moves up to half of his speed without provoking opportunity attacks. In this way, he mounts onto his warhorse. Now Percy Jones makes his second attack with the trident, aiming this time at the Chimera. The attack roll is 14, hitting against the armor class of 14. The trident brings the minimum 8 piercing damage. With his tactical mastery, the fighter applies the push weapon mastery, automatically pushing the Chimera back 10 feet. Percy Jones commands his steed to move away. The prone griffin attempts an opportunity attack against the warhorse, rolling with disadvantage while in the prone condition. A roll of 9 misses against the warhorse armor class of 11. The steed continues moving. It uses its dash action in order to move along the difficult terrain of the upward hill slope. The area of the Sleet Storm is heavily obscured, and Percy Jones cannot see the area of the nest to confirm whether or not the elemental gem might be here. Percy Jones decides to use his action surge for an unusual situation of making the dash action. With his regular movement and the dash action, Percy Jones dismounts from his warhorse and runs into the Sleet Storm. When first entering into the Sleet Storm, Percy Jones needs to roll a dexterity saving throw to avoid being knocked prone. A roll of 17 succeeds. Blindly feeling through the heavily obscured Sleet Storm, Percy Jones can move slightly farther toward his goal. The wounded Chimera uses its dash action to fly into melee contact with the Evoker Wizard. The other Chimera flies upward to follow the Champion Fighter. It uses the dash action to move to the edge of the Sleet Storm in the spot where the Champion Fighter had entered just a moment ago. Due to the heavily obscured space, the Chimera cannot see the fighter in here. Nonetheless, the Chimera suspects that the fighter probably is within close range inside the Sleet Storm. The Chimera growls and attempts to recharge its fire breath. With a roll of 5, the Chimera regains its fire breath. It will be able to use this feature during its next turn. The Griffons, who did not yet act during this turn, now move to encircle the Sleet Storm. They each prepare a ready action to make 1 rend attack at any intruder entering within a 5-foot reach. If such a circumstance will happen, then a Griffin will need to use its reaction to complete the rend attack. The wizard's owl familiar continues to await a new command. Meanwhile, it uses the dodge action. At the end of round 3, the Champion Fighter moves blindly through a Sleet Storm, believing that he is close to obtain the Earth Elemental Gem, while the Evoker Wizard still could draw on her many options to accede toward her goal. The Chimeras and Griffons continue to defend their nest against the 2 intruders. Two of the griffons fly toward the Evoker Wizard. They use their dash actions to reach into melee contact. The Evoker Wizard, Evoker, is surrounded by dangerous opponents. She commands her Phantom Steed to disengage, thereby avoiding opportunity attacks. She directs the steed to move up toward the central area where previously she saw the Earth Elemental Gem. With its base movement of 100 feet, the steed moves at half speed through the difficult terrain of the steep slope. Evoker uses her 35 feet of movement as a cloud giant Goliath to dismount and to step forward, moving within a narrow path of avoiding the prepared attacks of the griffons. The wizard evaluates her surroundings. At this point, she decides to end her concentration on the Sleet Storm spell. As a bonus action, Evoker uses her Cloud's Jaunt to teleport 30 feet. Evoker teleports next to the Earth Elemental Gem. As an interaction with an object, she grabs the gem and stores it safely within her robes. The Evoker Wizard sneers at the champion fighter while she proclaims her victory of obtaining the Earth Elemental Gem. Percy Jones notes that the wizard may have obtained the gem first, but she still has not escaped from this dangerous situation. With a slight hint of a clever grin, Evoker decides to end her Phantom Steed spell. The steed vanishes. As her action, the wizard casts Dimension Door once again using another 4th level spell slot. She teleports 500 feet away. Evoker calls out telepathically to her owl familiar. Now they will proceed with their escape. At this point, the champion fighter Percy Jones recognizes that he needs to disengage and move away to safety. He may or may not ever again meet the Evoker Wizard. For now, Percy Jones allows his mind to wander, dreaming about the possibilities of heroic adventures. The chimeras and the griffons are enraged by the destruction of their nest and the loss of their precious treasure. They will not forget about the two intruders, especially the wizard who stole the magical gem. At this time, the chimeras and the griffons fly out in search of a new home and other prey in the surrounding lands. During the next few days, the Evoker Wizard Evoker journeys back to the magical lair that prompted her adventure to obtain the Earth Elemental Gem. Here, the wizard will activate the magical gem, releasing the Earth Elementals to break through the stonework and magical protections of the lair. In this way, Evoker will attempt to claim the lair for herself. The Evoker Wizard still does not know who is the proprietor of this place. Previously, the place appeared to be unattended but magically protected. In this moment, a group of people approach toward the lair. A wandering hunter guides a group of farmers to this place. Our story will continue with Nemesis Battles. For now, in the comment section, please share your ideas and suggestions about what could have happened differently and what could happen next. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.